those common standards will help us have. But then again, I think that we have to try to encourage many of our kids to go on to technical community college or to the university, but that only comes with a price tag. And there are more and more of our children who cannot afford the price tag. And we need to have a conversation about how we combine state and local and federal resources to guarantee kids in this country the same thing our heirs did in guaranteeing kids a free public education. Neither of my parents graduated from high school. And here I sit with a PhD. And but for those folks who came in the 30s and said, even a poor little girl from Appalachia deserves an education, I wouldn't be sitting here. And I think that same kind of opportunity must be given to kids who come from poor families, undereducated families, to have a higher education.
You make a couple great points, and the theme has come up. It's one that we're thinking a lot about. Is this has to be a sort of a cradle-to-career plan. And we've talked a lot today about K-12, but the early childhood piece is huge. The higher ed piece is huge. This SAFR bill that I talked about, if it passes the Senate and becomes law, it would put over $10 billion into community colleges around the country. And I think community colleges have this vast untapped potential. I think they're this absolute gem along the education continuum. And whether it's 18-year-olds or 38-year-olds or 58-year-olds coming back to retrain and retool and green jobs and healthcare jobs and tech jobs, I think community colleges have a huge, huge role to play to get families back on their feet and this country, this economy back on its feet. And so we want to make unprecedented investments there. My Undersecretary, Martha Cantor, is an extraordinarily successful former community college president, really visionary woman. First time a community college president has had that seat. And we didn't do that by accident. That was by design. We want to just absolutely see community colleges expand, grow, prosper. And again, I think they're a huge piece of this pipeline. And your point is the right one. What the president has said is that everyone has to be thinking about some form of education beyond high school. There just aren't good jobs out there. There are no good jobs out there if you don't have a high school diploma, and there are almost good jobs if you only have a high school diploma. So 4-year universities, 2-year community colleges, trade, technical, vocational training. K-12 has to simply be the starting point on an education journey, not an ending point. And we haven't focused enough on outcomes. We haven't focused about taking the next level. As part of that bill, simply by removing subsidies for banks and investing in education, we're going to put money behind early childhood, basically do a race to the top for early childhood of almost $10 billion over the next decade. We're going to put a huge amount of money behind community colleges. And we want to index Pell Grant to inflation plus 1%. And as college costs go up and families struggle financially, I don't just worry about the juniors and seniors. I worry about the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds who are working hard and who are smart, but mom or dad loses a job or takes a 50% pay cut, and they start to think college isn't for them. And we can put a massive amount of money out there so that we can look every child in the eye in the country and say, it doesn't matter how tough things are at home. If you work hard, you're going to have this opportunity. And again, we'll get to all of you this week what we can do in terms of increased Pell Grants, in terms of dollars and additional students that would be served simply by stopping investing in banks and putting that money behind children. And so we have a huge play here, a huge opportunity. And if we don't get better there, I don't see how our country's economy long-term can get where it needs to go. I think this is absolutely fundamental to that long-term goal.
I'm going to introduce a part of this conversation we haven't talked as much about, which is I think innovation can absolutely, or competition can drive innovation. And we're at this place where I think you're thinking more innovatively than we have for a very long time about education. But implementation can be sort of a different thing, and the question becomes, how can we ensure that we have the right kinds of collaboration? And now I'm speaking really about teachers. Part of it is to give teachers incentives to go into failing schools and things of that nature. But really to think about teacher performance, we need to, I think, collaborate with teachers in that we as governors aren't going to get that right necessarily. And designing an evaluation system has to come with their input. And I just really like to know sort of how the department thinks about collaboration, what kinds of things you're doing to incentivize collaboration, and what you would tell us as governors to do.
Great question. So a couple thoughts. When we talk about turnaround schools, let me start. You could pay teachers $50,000. If there isn't a good principal there, they're not going to go. Principal leadership matters tremendously. I think our department has frankly been part of the problem. We've underinvested in principal leadership. In our proposed budget, we're asking for a 5-fold increase in money to develop this next generation of principals. So that's a starting point. Working conditions, being part of a team, being part of building a culture. Teachers don't go into education to make $1 million. They go in there because they want to make a difference in students' lives, and they want that opportunity. And it starts with leadership. The money is just almost symbolic. It's a way of just saying thank you for the hard work. On the evaluation systems, I spoke before 5,500 members at the NEA conference. I spoke before 2,500 members at the AFT conference, and I said that teacher evaluation systems around the country are largely broken, and everybody cheered. Teacher evaluation systems don't identify the best teachers. We don't reward them. We don't learn from them. They don't help teachers in the middle improve, and they don't weed out those teachers at the bottom who, despite hard work, or despite mentoring reduction, where it's not working. And this is an area you have to do it collaboratively. You have to do it with teachers, not to teachers. And I will tell you, there is real leadership at the top of the unions nationally to work on this together. When no teacher's being well served, how can children children aren't being well served either. And you've seen recently Randy Weingarten, the head of the AFT, talk about how teacher evaluation was broken, talk about wanting to be a full partner and supporting great teachers and teachers where it's not working, having those honest conversations. For us long-term to get where we need to go, again, this isn't a place where we need to tinker around the edges. We need a fundamental overhaul. There's a study that came out that you guys saw that was, I think, very significant from the New Teachers Project that talked about 99% of teachers being rated at excellence and teachers being these interchangeable widgets. And we know great teachers have the average child with 3 great teachers in a row is going to be 1.5 years or 2 years ahead of grade level. The average child with 3 bad teachers in a row is going to be so far behind they're never going to catch up. And so the swings here are extraordinary. And working with teachers, with unions, with individual, great leadership at the local level, what we can do, again, we're not going to ever have a national evaluation, but we can do is shine a spotlight on those innovative partnerships. And while it is largely broken nationally, there are wonderful, wonderful models in place today of great teacher evaluation that rewards excellence and deals with failure and helps the middle improve. And we want to continue to shine a spotlight on those. We want to continue to fund them. And we want to see those go to scale. So I think there's a real willingness and a real opportunity, but your point is exactly right. It has to be done in collaboration.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, go ahead. Governor Beebe and then Governor Henry.
Before we close out, and I didn't know whether we were about to, I thought the Secretary might be able to just give us his thoughts on the JAG program, which has been very good in Arkansas. And it really does help on the dropouts, and it really does help with some of the lower achievers. And I know you've had some experience with that. I didn't know whether you were in a position just to make any comment about it, but it's worked for us.
Yeah, there are phenomenal programs out there around the country, and I think JAG is one of those. And again, what we want to do is, when we talk about competitive resources, we want to put money behind places that are demonstrating an ability to raise the bar for all children and to close the achievement gap. And for all the challenges we face, a devastating dropout rate, not enough students, far too many of our high school graduates have to take remedial classes when they go to college. Our college graduation rate is flatlined for 2 decades. That has to increase. That's the President's committed that we want to lead the world by 2020 there. For all the challenges, the reason I'm so hopeful is there is so much great work going on at the local level. The challenge we have is that work is not at scale. It's pockets of excellence, islands of excellence. And so what we want to do is we want to use our scarce resources to take to scale what works. And so whether it's Race to the Top, whether it's school improvement grants, whether it's Promised Neighborhoods, whether it's Invest in Innovation, we just want to come back with opportunity after opportunity for local schools, local districts, states to put their best foot forward and say, this is, if it's working for 100 kids, let's take it to 200. If it's working for 5,000 kids, let's take it to 10,000. And let's grow, let's not get, grow it at a scale where we don't lose quality. But there are so many great programs out there around the country, that being one, and there are hundreds of others. We want to see those. If it's making a difference in students' lives, let's do more of it. If it's not working, let's stop doing that and let's do something else.
Governor Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, Mr. Secretary, thank you for your time today. We really appreciate it. And I, too, applaud you and the President for really re-energizing the education discussion. I don't remember a time, certainly in my tenure as governor, when there's been so much excitement across this nation about making positive changes in education. So thank you for that contribution. I'm certainly proud of the fact that Oklahoma is, by all objective accounts, is a leader in early childhood education. I'll talk about the other end of the spectrum for a moment.